All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition, the Friday edition of the Free American Hour. I'm your host, Clay Douglas. My guest today is Thomas James from Hemp USA. Tom James. Hello, Tom. How are you?
We need to think positive and be healthy, and I'm bringing food and wonderful new non-food items to the market to make people's lives easier. Especially in these times, a lot of people are hurting for money, and a lot of people are on pharmaceuticals, and a lot of people are just not feeling mentally well. A lot of people are depressed. And what we want to do is change all that as much as we can with our company.
Well, I appreciate that. And Tom, I've been doing this for over 15 years, and long before that, I was pretty much promoting the advantages of hemp. I mean,
Yes.
I think this is the real crime here is that there are 10,000 products made out of hemp. It was our number one cash crop for almost 200 years. We conquered the world with hemp. We sailed around the world with hemp sails and hemp rope. World War II started, and the government asked the farmers to start growing hemp again. Are you aware of that?
Of course, back in the 40s, of course, because they needed it for parachutes, they needed it for clothing, they needed it for ropes, they needed it for everything to win the war in the 40s. And then they stopped.
Levi, the man that created Levi jeans, he made those jeans originally out of sails.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct.
Which are, of course, made out of hemp. And hemp as a fiber is longer, and will last longer, and is more durable than cotton. Our first flags were made out of hemp, weren't they?
Of course, first Constitution of Independence, and we also have one of the biggest paint companies in the world fought against the American that Marijuana Tax Act in 1937. Benjamin Moore fought and went into court and lost. They were not allowed to use the oil from the hemp plant. Can you imagine that? So that's history. The Encyclopedia Britannica was made out of it. We know all these things are made out of it, but let's tell people now that they can eat it. They can eat it with our powder, our seeds, and our oil. And we now have soft centers, which is the center of the hemp seed, and we now have hemp coffee that everybody absolutely is crazy about. You know, and we're talking a high-frequency food here. This is the highest frequency food known to man. Out of 3 million edible food plants, hemp is the number one plant for nutrition. And it's been used for food, clothing, and shelter since time began. And you can't take it away from any country because every other industrialized nation can grow it except the United States. We're the only ones banned from growing hemp, a useful product for mankind. It makes no sense.
They can grow it in Mexico. They can grow it in China. They can grow it. They moved when they banned here, when they brought the tax on and set up the Harry Anslinger, the first drug czar, who by the way was Mellon's nephew, and all that prohibition against hemp didn't come from smoking it. People like DuPont that got the patent on nylon and rayon, they had to transfer the hemp over to Russia and China. Today, we got to buy it from a communist country?
Yeah, it's amazing. You know, the funny thing is, as Kevin Trudeau always says, it's all about the money. And I agreed with him on the last show I did with him that it's all about the money. It was about the petrochemical industry moving in against natural grown crops like hemp. So what they did basically, so people can know, hemp is a separate plant from a marijuana plant. They hid the hemp plant that was so useful and profitable for the American people behind the marijuana plant. And that's exactly what they did. It was a big lie, a lot of propaganda, and the propaganda still goes today. It still goes. I still have to get on the radio and tell people that marijuana is not hemp and hemp is not marijuana. They use the names interchangeably, loosely, and it's actually used the wrong way because hemp is not marijuana. There is no psychoactive drug in the one used for clothing and food and shelter, okay?
I knew that as a kid. We went out, we'd hear about these rumors about hemp growing somewhere, and we found it, but you couldn't smoke it. It didn't do anything for you.
Right, that's right. Matter of fact, Clay, if you grow hemp around the marijuana plant, it makes the marijuana extremely weak. And I can prove that through the Washington Jefferson diaries, because they were both farmers. They talked, interchanged letters, and there's a letter that they talked about that they got the hemp growing very close to the marijuana, and it made it of no effect.
You mean those founding fathers? They were not only slave owners. They grew hemp too.
They grew hemp and marijuana. Yep. It's amazing. But it's funny because the more you read, the more you understand how incredible this plant is. Here's another thing I can tell your audience and you. It's the only plant that you can tell the gender of by looking at it. You can't tell the gender of any other plant on Earth unless you take it down to its DNA level. So it's a pretty amazing plant in so many ways. And listen, another thing I found out is that the enzyme was discovered through the hemp seed. Enzymes, when they were discovered, I forget the year, but they were looking at the hemp seed when they discovered it. Isn't that amazing?
I have a friend by the name of Jack Hara.
Yes.
Jack, I financed Jack and supported Jack while he wrote the book, The Emperor Wears No Clothes.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me one time, he said, if you were stranded on a desert island, you knew you were going to be stranded on a desert island, and you could take one thing with you, what would that be? He said, a hemp seed.
Absolutely.
And I said, what are you talking about? He said, it will provide you with fuel, it will provide you with food, it will provide you with clothing, it will provide you with shelter. I got a film up on my old website, which I've got a link to right at the top of the site, of Henry Ford. Got a guy swinging a sledgehammer in an old Ford.
Yep, that was 1947 that Ford was on the video, and they took a sledgehammer to it, it bounced off. It was made with hemp, flax, and sisal. And it was a car that they never let out because obviously even the automobile industry would feel the impact of that plant. Would that not be the truth?
Well, sure. I mean, you bump into somebody instead of having to pay $500 to a mechanic or a body man to get your car fixed. You wouldn't need it. You would.
Yeah, the whole thing is you bump into somebody, you say, "Oh, sorry about that."
Oops, sorry.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah.
But listen, let's tell everyone that's listening about the products because they can energize their whole body. They can rebuild all of their organs. They can totally clean their blood. They can nourish the body with all the magnesium, potassium, calcium that they're deficient in through the hemp plant powder seeds and oil that we have. And we've been doing this for many years. We've been on thousands of radio stations, and we just like to wake up America and the world to the fact that this food can change your life. If you have depression, it works wonderfully with that. If you have any kind of sickness, most sickness stems from a magnesium deficiency or some other vitamin deficiency. You'll get a large amount of your vitamins from this particular food through the powder, making shakes, through the oil by putting it on your salads or taking it by the tablespoon, or you can also have it with the seeds, a portable food. Wherever you go with your hobbies, when you travel, you can take the seeds with you, and a handful of these seeds, Clayton, will give the body all the nutrition for a 24-hour period. Can you imagine? One handful. So it's a miraculous food. It's not an amazing food. It's miraculous. And it can change the body. If you give the body the proper nutrients, it will and can heal itself.
On my site, somewhere buried into the products page or something, I've got a biochemist that I know created a line of trace minerals. And she said that the food today, because of the depletion of our soil, the food today didn't have the fulvic acid in it. And I believe because the hemp grows so deep into the ground, former Secretary of Agriculture of California, said if they'd let us plant hemp on our hillsides, we wouldn't have any erosion. We wouldn't have these.
Yeah, that's a fact. The erosion problem happened largely due to the plants not being here when they took them away, and it's the best rotational crop in the world for a farmer. You can't beat it. It's got the largest tap rooting system of any plant. It gets deeper into the Earth's crust, and it pulls up minerals that other plants can't pull up. That's why we rotate our crops every 3 years, and that's very important for the production and the harvest of a really high-quality seed plant.